So muli po, purihin ng Panginoon sa pagkakataong ito na tayo mag-aaral ng kanyang salita. Ang topic pong inassign sa akin ay The Third Angel's Message with Pen and Voice. So dati po, sulat lang, saka preaching, na manual, actual. So ngayon, we have many avenues kung paano natin ipapakalat ang salita ng Diyos. Marami na tayo, kaya tawagin is multimedia. And we can be virtual, we can do the actual, we can do church, we can do house-to-house labor. So, still with pen and voice pa rin ang tawag, but we need to preach this message because it's needed. But let us remember again that there can be no third angel without repeating the first and the second. So, I hope alam na natin yung sequence ng first and second angel's message. That's why we're going to proceed dito sa third angel's message. But before that, I'd like to invite you for a word of prayer. Tayo manalangin, namang banal, dakilang Diyos na sa kitaasan ng langit. Sa hapon pong ito, lumalapit kami sa inyong banal na harapan. Hinihiling na kami samahan ng inyong banal na espiritu. Buksan ang aming puso't isipan upang aming maunawaan ang mga katotohanan ito. Lulatinawan namin inyong banal na pangalan sa pangalan po ni Jesus. Amen. So, let's tawag dyan, himay-himay natin yung mensahe ng three angels, So, basahin muna natin. Among the three angels' messages, the third angel is actually the longest. Composed siya ng 3 verses, Yung Babylon, maiksi. Babylon is fallen is fallen. Di ba? Pero itong third angel, medyo mas marami siyang detalye. Kaya sabi dito, the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with the fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. And here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus." So, we need to memorize from first angels, second, and the third. Because it means salvation to us. And bilang mga Seventh-day Adventist po, ito ang summary ng buong mensahe na ipinagkaloob sa atin na ibahagi sa buong sanlibutan. So, unahin natin yung warning against the beast, worshiping the beast and his image. Pag sinabing beast, sa mga students ng prophecy, ito po ay tumutukoy saan? Sabi sa Daniel 7:23, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom." So when it says beast, it refers to a kingdom. And then, if this is a kingdom, sino itong beast na ito na nagdi-demand ng worship? Sa Revelation 13, mababasa natin, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." So, ano yung blasphemous name na nakalagay sa niya? Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. So, this beast, which is a kingdom, rise up out of the sea. Pag sinabing sea, so it rise to power by conquering nations. Having 7 heads and 10 horns, so meron siyang 7 ulo at 10 sungay na kumakatawan sa mga kaharian pa rin. Yung heads kasi represents kingdoms as well, or kings. Horns also represent kings and kingdoms. So, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, his seat, and great authority." So, Daniel chapter 7, makikita natin na yung first beast is a lion with wings. The second beast is a leopard-like beast with 4 wings. Hindi pala. Second is bear with ribs na merong mas mataas na balikat. At yung pangatlo, yung leopard-like beast na merong 4 na wings. At sinabi pa doon, wax great, very great, and exceedingly great. But this beast is even greater than those 3. Because instead of just the characteristic of a lion, or a bear, or a leopard, it is the combination of all. So that would mean this beast is actually an amalgamation of the first beast that came after it. And saan galing yung power niya? Galing sa dragon. So, primarily, kanino nagre-represent ang dragon? Ay Satan. But in this sense, sino yung ginamit ni Satan? It is pagan Rome gave the power to Papal Rome. Para masiguro natin, anong sabi sa Great Controversy? In the 6th century, the papacy had become firmly established. Its seat of power was fixed in the imperial city, and the Bishop of Rome was declared to be the head over the entire church. Paganism had given place to the papacy. Ito yung ibig sabihin ng the dragon had given to the beast his power, his seat, and great authority. So pagan Rome is dragon, Papal Rome is the beast. And para mas maging malinaw sa Great Controversy pa rin, the beast mentioned in this message as worship is enforced by 2-horned beast is the first or leopard-like beast of Revelation 13. So wala nang paligoy-ligoy. Sinabi ni Sister White, this is papacy. So itong amalgamated beast ay beast. Ano naman ang image of the beast or image to the beast? So, verse 11 ng chapter 13, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. So, balikan natin. Yung first beast, saan siya galing? Sa sea. It means by conquering nations, kaya siya naghari. But this second beast, hindi siya galing sa sea. Galing siya sa earth. So, tahimik siyang sumulpot sa eksena at meron siyang 2 specific characteristic. Meron siyang 2 horns like a lamb, but he spake like a dragon. Sino nga binigyan ng dragon ng authority? Yung beast. But this lamb-like beast, lamb ang itsura sa panlabas, pero kapag nagsalita siya, katulad siya ng dragon. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. So take note. The image of the beast is not the lamb-like beast itself. Linawin ko ha? Sinabi sa Revelation 13, may another beast na nag-come out. Pero hindi ito sinabi ito yung image. Kasi itong beast na ito will give life to the image of the beast. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So this beast, the lamb-like beast, will set up another beast who looks like the first beast and will enforce the worship of this image and the worship of the first beast. And what will happen kapag hindi ka sumamba? And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So, the lamb-like beast will give power, will give rise to the image of the beast, and will order everyone to worship the image and the beast by putting a mark in the right hand and in the foreheads. So when we are talking about Daniel and Revelation, majority ng sinasabi dito ay symbolic. And a lot of people are refusing to study Daniel and Revelation because they cannot understand the symbolism placed on it. Sadly, some of the people today are putting symbols sa mga literal things. Di ba? But anyway, as students of prophecy, hindi tayo dapat magkamali dito sa interpretation kung sino itong beast, sino yung lamb-like, sino yung, at ano yung image, ano yung mark, bakit sa noo at bakit sa kanang kamay. Sabi sa Great Controversy, the beast with 2 horns causeth or commands all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. At ano ang consequence kapag wala ka ng mark? That no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So, may mark, may name, may number. Now, ano sa tingin nyo ang magiging implication o ano ang correct understanding nitong mark of the beast? But take note, binababalaan tayo laban sa mark, laban sa name, at laban sa number. So mostly the people are focusing on the mark, not realizing na meron din palang number at name. Now, sabi sa Great Controversy 445, the third angel's warning is, if any man shall worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. So, we are forced to choose whether we receive the mark or receive the wrath of God. If we receive the mark, we can buy and sell. If we don't receive the mark, we cannot buy or sell. But if we don't receive the mark, we will not receive the wrath of God. But if we receive the mark, we will receive the wrath of God. So, alin ang mas mahalaga sa atin? Yung maka-buy and sell or yung umiwas sa wrath of God? And some people today would like to picture the wrath of God as a guilty conscience. Symbol na lang. Kasi mabait ang Diyos. Hindi siya magpaparusa. So, linawin na natin. Take note, alin yung lamb-like beast? Hindi ko na isinulat dito. Sana memorize na natin yan. The lamb-like beast is United States. Yung two horns niya represents Protestantism and Republicanism. A clear distinction between the separation of church and state. Kaya dalawa yung horns. And in order for papacy and for this image, in order for this lamb-like beast to form an image of the beast, ano ang kailangang tanggalin? The separation of church and state. Napansin nyo ba? Sa Amerika, majority of the Supreme Court judges are now Catholic. And the Pope today is now an American Catholic. And ano yung movement na sinimulan ngayon sa Amerika? Na member dito yung isang sikat na pinatay, na si Charlie Kirk. Ano yung goal ng movement nila? To abolish the separation of church and state. Kasi sinasabi ng mga Amerikano na masyado nang mababa ang morality natin. So we need the church to lead the state. Now remember, whenever the church is the head of the state, what happens? Sa bawat bahagi ng kasaysayan na ang iglesia ang namumuno sa isang bansa, kapag hindi ka naniwala sa pinaniniwalaan nila, ikaw ay buburahin sa mapa. Bakit nawala ang three Aryan Kingdom? Syriac, Vandals, and Ostrogoths? Because they rejected the Catholic dogma of the Trinity. At nakita niyo po ngayon yung isang... So, the Pope himself, the Catholics, are watching this movement. Kaya huwag kayong magtaka, huwag tayong magtaka if they will send infiltrators to create division and disunion within this movement. Maglalagay ng mga Catholic dogmas within the movement ng mga false teaching para masira ang movement na ito. Now, balikan natin. Ano na ang image of the beast? So, yung beast, the second beast is America, malinaw. So, yung America ang magigive rise or power sa image to the beast. And ano yung image to the beast? It represents that form of apostate Protestantism. which will be developed when the Protestant churches shall seek the aid of the civil power for the enforcement of their dogmas. The very same action done by the Catholic Church by requesting the kings of Europe to annihilate the three Arian kingdoms. Hindi naman yung papacy mismo ang nakipaglaban para wasakin yung Heruli, Vandals, and Ostrogoths. They seek the aid of the kings of the other kingdoms. So the same thing with the apostate Protestantism, which is the image of the beast. The apostate Protestantism doesn't have the military power. We need to be careful with that, Kuya Goli. We need to qualify. Because if we are asked, what is the mark of the beast? And we just say Sunday worship, that would mean those who are worshiping Sunday today ay meron ng mark of the beast. So when we are asked, supposing that in so doing, they were keeping the Bible Sabbath, they are thinking that ito yung binigay ng Panginoon na kapahingahan. And there are now true Christians in every church not accepting the Roman Catholic Communion who honestly believe that Sunday is the Sabbath of divine appointment. God accepts their sincerity of purpose and their integrity before Him. So even though they worship on Sundays, the Lord knows the hearts of these people. Kaya po yung experience ko doon sa PNG, I really appreciate even the Sunday keepers, kahit yung way ng worship nila ay iba, but they are very genuine in their desire to worship God. And kung hindi pa nila na-receive yung light tungkol sa Sabat, God accepts their worship. But anong mangyayari later on? Kailan magiging mark of the beast and Sunday worship? But when Sunday observance shall be enforced by law, and the world shall be enlightened concerning the obligation of the true Sabbath, then whoever shall transgress the command of God to obey a precept which has no higher authority than that of Rome will thereby honor popery above God. Take note of this, ha? When Sunday observance shall be enforced by law. He is paying homage to Rome, and the power which enforces the institution ordained by Rome, he is worshiping the beast and his image. Kailan? When Sunday is enforced by the law. Until it is enforced, it is not yet the mark. As men then reject the institution which God has declared to be the sign of His authority and honor in its stead, that which Rome has chosen as the token of her supremacy, they will thereby accept the sign of allegiance to Rome, the mark of the beast. So, maging maingat po tayo ha, kasi it's going to be offensive to anyone who worships on Sunday na basta mo sabihin, ang Sunday keeping ang mark of the beast. So, kailan magiging mark of the beast ang Sunday keeping? When it is enforced by the law. So, in short, the mark of the beast is, sabi dito, it is not until the issue is thus plainly set before the people and they are brought to choose between the commandments of God and the commandments of men that those who continue in transgression will receive the mark of the beast. Kailangan dumating muna yung oras ng pagpili kapag in-enforce na yung law. So in short, again, to summarize, when asked what is the mark of the beast, it is Sunday observance enforced by the law. Huwag natin kakalimutan yung enforced by the law. Until na-enforce siya ng law, hindi siya mark of the beast. Magiging mark lang siya kapag in-enforce na siya. So, ano naman ibig sabihin ng pag-receive ng mark in the right hand, in the forehead? Few years ago, ilang years ago? 6 years ago, 5 years ago, pumotok ang COVID. And in that pandemic, ay tinest ang bayan ng Diyos sa receiving not the mark of the beast, but a scenario na parang magiging ganun ang kalalagyan. Whether to accept the vaccine or not. Sa mark of the beast, whether to accept Sunday as holiday or not. Ano ang ginawa doon sa pag-enforce ng vaccination? Para ma-encourage ka na magpa-vaccinate, ano ang ginawa nila? Binigyan ng incentives. Binigyan ng giveaway. Binigyan ng privileges. Pinangakuan ng promotion, ng dagdag sahod. Pag hindi ka na entice, natanggapin yung vaccine, then tatanggalan ka ng rights.
As a church.
Hindi, tatanggalan ka ng rights. Tatanggalan ka ng rights. Hindi ka makakabili. Hindi ka makakabenta. Tama? We already experienced the no buying and no selling. Hindi ka makakalabas ng barangay. So, it is a preview of what's going to happen later on. That somebody is enforcing something against your conscience. Paano natin masabi na na-receive mo sa forehead and na-receive mo sa right hand? So, sabi ni Uriah Smith, to receive the mark of the beast on the forehead is, we understand, to give the assent of the mind and judgment to his authority in the adoption of that institution which constitutes the mark. In other words, kapag tinanggap mo na tama ang pagsamba sa araw ng linggo, you receive the mark on your forehead. Paano natin i-compare dun sa vaccination? Kapag tinanggap mo na necessary yung vaccination para maproteksyonan ka laban sa sakit at maingatan mo na huwag magkasakit yung nasa paligid mo, you receive the vaccination on your forehead. Dahil naniniwala ka sa sinasabi ng mga leader. The same thing mangyari sa Sunday Law. So paano naman yung sa kamay? By parity of reasoning, to receive it in the hand would be to signify allegiance by some outward act. Hindi ko talaga pinaniniwalaan, hindi ko talaga gusto, pero dahil gusto kong magtrabaho, magpapabakuna ako. And a lot of people will do the same pagdating ng Sunday Law. Magugutom ang pamilya ko. Paano na yung negosyo ko? Kung hindi ako makakapagbenta, paano kung hindi ako makakabili? Now, ano sa tingin nyo ang gagamitin specifically para makontrol nila ang buying and selling? Sa nakalipas na panahon, naririnig natin yung one world government, one world religion, one world currency. Dati, ang tingin natin, pag sinabing one world currency, isang fiat money, halimbawa, dollar na lang lahat na gagamitin sa buong mundo. Hindi pala ganon. Ang mangyari pala, a different kind of money. Kasi, nagsimula tayo sa gold standard, gold, silver, di ba? And then, naging paper money. Pero kapag gold and silver and paper, madali bang i-trace yung pera o hindi? Mahirap. So the easiest way to trace the money is when you make it digital. So, para makontrol ang buying and selling, everything will become digital. Kaya whether sa ayaw natin o sa gusto, dadating yung oras, yung cash natin ay wala ng value, lahat ay digitized na. Ano lang advantage natin? Kasi mahirap yung bansa natin, hindi agad-agad may implement dito. So pag nakita natin ganun na yung ginagawa sa ibang bansa, alam natin na malapit na ang araw ng pag-uusig. So again, matitest natin yung ating allegiance sa Diyos. Ngayon, tanungin natin, pag may GCash ka ba, gumagamit ka ng one world currency? Di ba? So, whether we like it or not, ito yung legal tender ngayon. Di ba dati gold lang naman, tapos lumabas yung pera? So, ngayon, whether we like it or not, dadating talaga yung oras, i-require nila. And for us to use those digital money, you need to register your name in the banks. O, ngayon, makakagamit ka ba ng SIM card na hindi mo ni-register pangalan mo? Kung ordinaryong tao ka, hindi. Pero kung ikaw ay nagtatrabaho sa Pogo at sa mga scam hub, kaya mong walang pangalan yon. So, kapag kayo ay may nagme-message sa inyo, ito ang tip ko lang. Pag may nag-message sa inyo na nanalo ka ng pera o ng kung ano man, try nyong sendan ng kahit piso sa GCash. Kapag yung pangalan na yon, yung number na yon ay walang lumabas na kahit na anong pangalan, malinaw sa scammer yon. Kasi ang ordinaryong tao, pag in-input mo yung number niya, may lalabas na although hindi mo makikita yung buong pangalan, pero may lalabas na naka-register na pangalan. Try nyong tingnan yung mga nagtitext sa inyo ng kung ano-anong text. Subukan yung senda ng GCash. Wala kayong makikita ang pangalan. Technology kasi ito, kaya pa ring dayain ng tao. Pero for our safety, kung legit o hindi, basta pag nagsabi sa'yo nanalo ka, huwag ka nang maniwala kaagad. Lalo na kung hindi ka sumali. Ano?
Nagamit pa yung termo.
Di ba? Basta hindi ka sumali at sinabing nanalo ka, ibig sabihin nun, scam yan. At sasabihin, bago mo ma-receive yung 1 million, padala ka muna ng 20,000. Oh. So, balik tayo dito. So, receiving the mark in the forehead means believing that Sunday keeping is right. Receiving the mark on the right hand is, kahit hindi ka naniniwala, kahit iba yung paniniwala mo, ayaw ko lang mawala ng trabaho, ayaw ko magutom, so, gagawa na lang ako. O susundin ko na lang yung pinag-uutos. At marami ang magko-compromise ng mga Seventh-day Adventist sa panahon ng persecution. Maraming mga Sunday keeper ang magigising sa Sabbath keeping. Maraming Sabbath keeper ang makikita yung realidad na hindi talaga sila converted. So, ano na ngayon? Beast, image, beast, lamb-like beast, image, mark, and then, ano na yung wrath of God? Sabi ng iba, that is love. Totoo naman. Sa pag-ibig ng Diyos, kailangan niyang ibigay ang kaparusahan. But what exactly is the wrath of God? So para hindi na tayo mag-define ng kung ano-ano pa, basahin na lang natin. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever. May kalituhan pa ba kung anong wrath of God? Di ba ang sabi? 7 last plagues. Plain and simple. Sadly, hindi dahil sa nabasa mong 7 last plagues, yan talaga ang wrath of God. Sabi nung iba. Nakakalungkot po na kahit gaano ka-plain yung nababasa, na hindi mo na kailangan pang interpret kasi very plain na. Some people has their mind interpreting these things differently kahit pa nakasulat na nga. So, bakit walang mixture yung 7 last plagues or yung wrath of God? Sabi po ni Jen Andrews, and wrath without mixture must be wrath with nothing else. That is wrath without mercy. God has not yet visited the earth with unmixed wrath, nor can He, while our great high priest ministers in the heavenly sanctuary, and stays the wrath of God by His intercession for sinful men. When the plagues are poured out, mercy has given place to vengeance. Sabi ng Diyos, vengeance is mine, I will repay. Kailan dadating? Pagkatapos sabihin ni Kristong, let the just be just, and let the unjust be unjust. At the end of the ministration in the heavenly sanctuary, when Christ changes His clothes from being a high priest into a king and judge, bubuhos na yung wrath of God. Among professed Christians, there are idolaters, men and women who are not sealed by God. many have subverted the Christian faith into idolatry, giving to a man-made institution the glory and honor that God requires for Sabbath day, and compelling others to worship this idol. Such ones will surely be visited with God's retributive judgment, which are poured out without mixture of mercy upon the unrepentant despisers of God's law. So, bakit walang mixture? Walang mixture ng mercy. So, it's pure wrath. And take note of this, hindi na siya investigative judgment, siya na ay retributive judgment. Sadly, people would like to think these are symbolic language. So ano ngayon yung punishment ng mga sasamba sa beast at sa kanyang image? Sa Revelation 19:20, and sabi dyan, "And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone." So sabi doon sa third angel's message, "This shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb." Ang tanong, kailan ito dadating? Yung chapter 19 verse 20 na binasa natin, sabi ni Uriah Smith, "It shows that at the second coming of Christ, there is a manifestation of fiery judgment which may be called a lake of fire and brimstone, into which the beast and the false prophet are cast alive." So itong lake of fire ba sa pagdating ni Christ sa second coming, ito na yung lake of fire na pupuksa sa lahat? Ito na ba o hindi pa? Not yet. Kanino specifically itong lake of fire na ito ibibigay? Ayun, no? The beast and the false prophet. Sino yung beast? Papacy. Sino yung false prophet? Apostate Protestantism. Sila yung dadalhin sa fire. Take note, yung 7 last plagues po are not universal. Napansin nyo? Yung darkness, dun lang sa seat of the beast. Oh. While hindi siya papalit-palit, kung hindi, habang nandun yung first plague, dadating yung second plague, hanggang sa matapos yung 7 last plagues. But, yung parusa doon sa beast at yung false prophet, ay kinonsider siyang parang lake of fire. But this is not yet the final. O, pansinin niyo po. Kaso sabi ni Uriah Smith ito, kailan daw yung suffering ng beast at ng false prophet? This can refer only to the destruction visited upon them at the commencement, sa simula, not at the end of the 1,000 years. Again, there is a remarkable passage in Isaiah to which we are obliged to refer in explanation of the phraseology of the threatening of the third angel, in which unquestionably describes scenes to take place here at the second advent, and in the desolate state of hindi sa brightness of his glory. So, kaya yung lake of fire na binabanggit sa Revelation 19 ay specifically for the beast and the false prophet. And take note, the beast and the false prophet are not individual person, but a system of religion. So, before that, basahin natin itong, kung merong lake of fire na tinatawag sa chapter 19, prior sa millennium, merong lake of fire na tinatawag din after the millennium. Ang sabi dyan sa Revelation 20, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea." So anong mangyari sa second resurrection? Bubuhayin pa lahat ng mga tao. So, therefore, yung sa chapter 19, hindi pa yun yung total annihilation of everyone kasi hindi pa kasali sa Satanas doon. Yung beast and image lang, tatamaan sila nung wrath of God na magmumukhang lake of fire para sa kanila. And anong mangyari sa pagkatapos ng millennium? "And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. Ito si Satanas, kinumbinsi niya yung mga lahat ng mga masasama at sinasabi niya, ako ang bumuhay sa inyo at sakupin natin yung syudad. And fire came down from God out of heaven. So habang pinaplano nilang sugurin yung bayan ng Diyos sa loob ng syudad, dumating ang apoy mula sa Diyos sa langit and devoured them. And the devil that received them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So nauna pa lang nandun sa lake of fire yung false prophet and yung beast. Di ba? Pero hindi sabihin na yung apoy sa loob ng 1,000 taon ay pinarurusahan yung beast at yung false prophet. Ano? So lahat po ng wicked ay mamamatay pagdating ni Kristo. Wala pong matitirang buhay, maliban kanino? Satan and his angels. Kasi yung physical death ang mangyayari sa lahat ng mga nandito sa lupa. Now, sabi ni Uriah Smith, that the language in Revelation was borrowed from this prophecy can hardly fail to be seen. After describing the Lord's anger upon the nations, the great slaughter of their armies, the departing of the heavens, a scroll, etc., the prophet says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall be burning pitch. So, is Revelation describing a literal sin or a symbolic sin? It also said, it shall not be quenched night nor day, the smoke thereof shall go up forever from generation to generation, and it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. And since it is expressly revealed that there is to be a lake of fire in which all sinners perish at the end of the 1,000 years, we can only conclude that the destruction of the living wicked at the commencement of this period and the final doom of all the ungodly at its close are very similar. Kasi di ba pagdating ni Kristo, bubukas yung lupa, aagos ang laba. Ganon din ang mangyari, lalo na pag i-cleanse na yung buong lupa. Now, kailan dadating yung apoy? Pagpatay na yung mga tao, saka dadating ang lake of fire? O mararamdaman nila ang suffering sa lake of fire? Kasi yung mga tao po ngayon na nagtuturo na ang Diyos ay napakabait at hindi nagpaparusa, ang kanilang teaching ay, bago dumating ang lake of fire, patay na ang lahat ng mga wicked. So tingnan natin, itong description ni Ellen White, kung pagdating ba ng fire, patay na sila o buhay pa. Every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. The indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. And ano yung description ng pagkamatay ng wicked? Upon the wicked, he shall rain quick burning coals, fire and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup. Fire comes down from God out of heaven, the earth is broken up. Alam niyo po ang kinukumpara nila dito? Si Satanas yan. Ang may gawa niyan. Katulad nung ginawa niya kay Job. Na tinerm din na yung fire na sumunog doon sa mga tupa ay galing sa Diyos. Pero in reality, si Satanas ang nagpadala ng apoy. Take note of this. Sa apoy na itong darating sa huling araw, paanong manggagaling ito kay Satanas? Kung kasali siya sa susunugin. So, ipagpatuloy natin yung paragraph. The weapons concealed in its depths are drawn forth. Devouring flames burst from every yawning chasm. The very rocks are on fire. The day has come that shall burn as an oven. The elements melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein are burned up. The earth's surface seemed one molten mass, a vast seething lake of fire. It is the time of the judgment and perdition of ungodly men, the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Tanong, Ang description bang ito ay symbolic? Or dinidescribe yung exact na sitwasyon ng mundo sa oras na dumating na ang apoy? Symbolic or literal? Kapag ginawa natin tong symbolic, sabi kasi nung isang kaibigan natin sa Mindanao, symbolic language ito. So ang tanong ko sa kanya, ano yung dinidescribe dyan? Symbolic or literal? Hindi niya ako sinagot. And that's one sad thing. When they are being cornered, they refuse to answer. Basta sa kanila, tama yung paniniwala nila. So, kailan dadating yung fire? Pagpatay na sila o buhay pa? Then fire will come down from God out of heaven, devour them, burn them up, root and branch. Satan is the root and his children are the branches. Take note of this. Then the same fire that will devour the wicked will purify the earth. How can it be the same fire if it is a guilty conscience? Kaya sabi nila, yung guilty conscience mo ang papatay sa'yo. Can the guilty conscience burn the rock? The elements? Eh, ang sabi, kung ano yung sumunog sa mga masasama, siya din ang maglilinis sa buong lupa. So, there is a symbolic and literal fire sa pagdating ng Panginoon. His glory, which is a symbolic fire, can create a literal fire. Kasi He is a sun and shield to the righteous, but a flaming fire to the wicked. So magkakaroon ng literal fire from the glory of God kasi yun yung portion ng wicked. They refuse to accept salvation, so walang magagawa. Hindi mag-i-exist ang sin sa harap ng banal na Diyos, so they will burn with fire. Yet, people today still believe that masama ang Diyos kapag sinunog sila sa impyerno. Kaya kailangan patay na muna sila bago dumating ang apoy. Very basic question. Patay o buhay? Buhay o patay? Sa Revelation 19, ang sabi dyan, them that worship His image, beast and false prophet, these both were cast into the lake of fire, dead or alive? Ano sabi? Alive. These were both cast alive into a lake of fire. Kaya ang tanong ko sa kanila, pag dumating ba yung lake of fire, patay na si Satanas? Kasi, di ba yun yung theory? Dadating ang literal fire, pagpatay na lahat ng wicked. Eternal torment. Kasi ang Diyos nyo nanununog. Ay, sabihin kay Kuya, hindi ako tatabi sa'yo, Kuya Goli. Pumapatay ang Diyos mo. Now, Satan always try to picture the reality into both extremes. So, since error ang eternal fire, they go to another extreme na wala ng literal fire na papatay, kung hindi, patay na muna bago dumating yung literal fire. So, anong sabi ni Sister White at ni Uriah Smith tungkol sa forever and ever? Eh, Brad, sabi forever and ever. Pag sinabing forever and ever, di ba hindi yan matatapos? So, the expressions forever and ever cannot here denote eternity. This is evident from the fact that this punishment is inflicted on this earth, where time is measured by day and night. This is further shown from the passage in Isaiah already referred to, if that is, as above suggested, the language from which this is borrowed and applies to the same time. The language is spoken of the land of Idumea, but whether it be taken to mean literally of the land of Edom, south and east of Judea, or to represent it, as it doubtless does, this whole earth at the time when the Lord Jesus shall be revealed from heaven in flaming fire, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion comes, in either case, the sin must eventually terminate. For this earth is finally to be made new, cleansed of every stain of sin, every vestige of suffering and decay, and to become the habitation of righteousness and joy throughout eternal ages. Gagawa ba ng bagong mundo ang Diyos?
Palilinisin lang.
Or lilinisin lang yung dating mundo?
Palilinisin lang.
So kung ang fire ay eternally burning, saan tayo titira kung tayo ay righteous? Kung hindi natatapos ang pagsunog sa impyerno, ibig sabihin, forever na makakakita ng ebidensya ng kasalanan ang buong universe. So by this, how should we understand the word forever? The word here translated forever, sabi ni Shrevelius in his Greek lexicon defines thus, an age, a long period of time, indefinite duration, time whether longer or shorter. Isang panahon na hindi mo masasabi kung maiksi o mahaba, basta ito ay isang duration ng time. At gaano kahaba, makikita natin dito. Katulad ni Prophet Samuel, he was dedicated. Ang Diyos mismo ang nangako, sabi niya, I will raise me up a faithful priest. Hanggang kailan magiging faithful priest si Samuel? Ang sabi diyan? And he shall walk before mine anointed forever. Forever bang naging faithful priest si Samuel? Yes. Because forever means as long as he lives. Kaya sa mag-asawa, pag pinangakuan mo si Ate Menchi that I will love you forever, yun ay till death do us part. Bakit? Because when you die, you can no longer love. Kaya ang forever ng tao ay limited sa lifespan ng tao. Kaya sabi ni Sister White, how repugnant to every emotion of love and mercy, and even to our sense of justice, is the doctrine that the wicked dead are tormented with fire and brimstone in an eternally burning hell. Bakit? That for the sins of a brief earthly life, they are to suffer torture as long as God shall live. Imagine, nabuhay ng 50 years, ang kanyang punishment, forever and ever. Nabuhay ng 20 years. Sa tingin nyo, alin na mas maraming kasalanan nagawa? Yung 50 o yung 20? Depende. Kasi minsan yung 80, 90 years old na hindi naman gaanong kasing sama, di ba? Kasi kagaya ni Hitler, ay maiksi lang ang buhay niya, pero ang kasalanan niya ay higit sa maraming tao kahit pa umabot ng 100 years yung isang tao. Di ba? But the point is, if you have lived a very short span, wala namang umabot ng 10,000 years na nabuhay. Diba? Si Adam nga, 925 lang. Si Methuselah, 969. And then, kung hindi sila maligtas, anong parusa? Forever and ever. Anong sense of justice meron ang Diyos kung magkakaiba yung level ng kasalanan at knowledge ng truth, pero ang punishment, equal. Even judicial system ng mundo ay magkaiba ang hatol sa pagnanakaw ng 100 kesa sa plunder na milyon-milyon. Pero magkaiba ang treatment sa nagnakaw ng 100 at sa nagplunder. Pag nagnakaw ka ng 100, kulong ka. Pag nagplunder ka, house arrest. But still, different ang treatment sa different sins. Magkaiba ang hatol sa homicide kesa sa murder. Yet this doctrine has been widely taught and still embodied in many of the creeds of Christendom. So Catholics, Baptists, they believe in eternally burning hell. Anong klaseng judge o justice system meron ng Diyos? Kung sa maiksing panahon ng buhay mo, habang panahon kang magsasuffer. And paano masasabing wala nang matitirang bakas ng kasalanan sa universe kung hindi namamatay yung mga dapat mamatay? Dahil lang sabi, for the wages of sin is eternally burning hell. Tama ba? No, ang sabi, the wages of sin is death. In death is a cessation of life, not being burned forever and ever sa hell. A large class to whom the eternal torment is revolting are driven to the opposite error. So ito yung kinakalaban naman ng isang punto. Ay, napakasama ng Diyos to. Forever and ever yung pagsunog. Pumunta naman sila sa kabilang extreme. They see that the scriptures represent God as being of love and compassion. And they cannot believe that He will consign His creatures to the fires of an eternally burning hell. So tama sila, mali? Tama sana. Tama na hindi susunugin ng Diyos sa eternally burning hell. Kaya lang, sumobra naman. But holding that the soul is naturally immortal, they see no alternative but to conclude that all mankind will finally be saved. So this is called universalism. So whether masama ka o mabuti, ililigtas tayo ng Diyos lahat. So from one error, eternal torment, to another error, na lahat ay maliligtas. Many regard the threatenings of the Bible as designed merely to frighten men into obedience. Ito yung, hindi naman talaga yan gagawin ng Diyos. Sabi ng Diyos, I kill. Hindi talaga papatay ang Diyos. And not to be literally fulfilled. Parang magulang, sinabi doon sa anak, pag ginawa mo yun, papaluin kita. Pero hindi ka naman talaga papaluin. Pagagalitan ka lang. Ito yung isip nitong mga taong ito. That God does not mean what He says. So ano nang ginagawa nila? Thus the sinner can live in selfish pleasure, disregarding the requirements of God, and yet expect to be finally received into His favor. Such a doctrine, presuming upon God's mercy, but ignoring His justice, pleases the carnal heart and emboldens the wicked in their iniquity. Yet, yung mga kaibigan natin, hindi naman sila nagdi-declare ng universalism. May lake of fire. May literal fire. Pero, hindi nila mararamdaman yon. Ang mararamdaman lang nila, guilty conscience. At pagpatay na sila, saka dadating yung lake of fire. Mga kapatid, what makes us feel guilty? Who gives us the knowledge of sin? The Spirit of God. Sa panahon ito, may Spirit of God pa ba ang wicked? So how can they have guilty conscience? When the word conscience itself is actually equivalent to the pleadings of the Holy Spirit. So how can they be pleaded with the Holy Spirit when they already rejected the Holy Spirit? So nakita niyo po yung contradiction? How can people die of guilty conscience kung wala na silang konsensya? Magiging katulad na sila ni King Saul. They fear the consequence. They fear na mawala sa kanila yung mga privileges. But they are not repentant. They do not consider themselves wrong. So how can they die of guilty conscience? They have remorse probably na nanghihinayang sila. Dapat nandun ako sa loob ng kaharian. At nandito ako sa labas. Kaya di ba magsisisihan? Ikaw kasi. Pero sino sinisisi? Hindi naman sinasabing, kasalanan ko kasi. Napansin nyo? Lahat magtuturuan. Mothers, sisisihin yung anak sisisihin yung tatay, sisisihin yung pastor, sisisihin kung sino man na sisisihin, pero hindi sisisihin ang sarili. So how can people die of guilty conscience? So nakita niyo po yung twisting ng kaaway? It may seem na pag-ibig, but in reality, the slightest change in the Word of God ay magpapahamak sa atin. Ganito lang po kasimple. Sabi ng Diyos kay Eve, ye shall. Isang word lang dinagdag ni Satanas. Anong nangyari? The whole statement turned around. Ye shall not surely die. Sabi ng Diyos, I kill. Hindi, pag pumatay ang Diyos, murderer siya. So God does not kill. Just one word added sa statement ng Diyos. is deception from the enemy. So in the surface, it may appear na napakaganda ng message. Pag-ibig, pag-ibig, pag-ibig. But that is building on the foundation that God does not mean what He says. Take note of this. Kasi ayaw nila, no? Hindi sila doon sa eternally burning hell. Hindi rin sila doon sa universalism, na lahat maligtas. Pero kapag tinatanong ko sila dito, hindi sila sumasagot ng direkta. Pansinin niyo po, sabi dito, the plea may be made that a loving father would not see his children suffering the punishment of God by fire while he had the power to relieve them. So tanong, aling fire ang tinutukoy dito? Is it the fire of guilty conscience or is it the fire literally? Ano yung pinipili nila na hindi susunugin ng Diyos? Pagkasunog na literal o pagkasunog ng konsensya? It is the literal fire na sinasabi lang hindi pwedeng sunugin ng Diyos. Kasi kapag sinunog ng Diyos, hindi rin siya pag-ibig. Pero anong sabi? But God would for the good of His subjects and for their safety punish the transgression. God does not work on the plan of man. He can do infinite justice that man has no right to do before his fellow men. Remember Noah? Sa 120 years sa pangaral niya, walang nakikinig. Iniinsulto siya. May nakakapit dun sa arka. Paano kung kumuha ng stick si Noah? Huwag kang kumapit dito. Mahulog ka. Would God be pleased kapag ginawa ni Noah? Anong sabi? Noah would have displeased God to have drowned one of the scoffers and mockers that harassed him. But God drowned the vast world. Si Noah bawal pumatay. Pero ang Diyos, pinatay niya lahat. Lot would have had no right to inflict punishment on his sons-in-law. Kung binugbog ni Lot yung mga manugang niya, kasi ayaw niyong pasamahin sa akin ng mga anak ko. Pero ang ginawa ng Diyos, sinunog ang buong Sodom. God would do it in strict justice. Is the water of the flood literal or not? Is the fire of Sodom literal or not? And who will say God will not do what He says He will do? Ang sagot? Si Satanas. God said, ye shall surely die. Satan said, ye shall not surely die. So, the conclusion is, when God said, I kill and I make alive, and we say, God does not kill, we are but repeating the words of the deceiver. Is the doctrine serious or not? Kasi some of us think, ay, okay lang naman yun, mababait naman sila, oo, mababait sila. But they are basing and building their doctrine upon the first lie. Ye shall not surely die. Hindi ka masunog sa impyerno, makukonsensya ka lang. Now, ito yung tanong. Pag dumating ba yung apoy, buhay pa yung masasama o patay na? Some are destroyed in a moment, while others suffer many days. All are punished according to their deeds. Ano yung, sa pag-research ko nito, nakita ko si William Miller mismo, hindi naniniwala sa literal fire pala. Si William Miller, hindi siya naniniwala dun sa literal fire na susunog. Pero si Uriah Smith, kinontra niya si William Miller. Now, balikan natin. Can this statement be applicable to a symbolic or literal fire? Probably, pwede rin siya sa symbolic, di ba? Pwede hindi? Pwede, di ba? Pero tingnan natin iba pang statement. But fire from God out of heaven is rained upon them, and the great men and mighty men, the noble, the poor, the miserable, are all consumed together. I saw that some were quickly destroyed, while others suffered longer. Fire from God, rain from heaven, is it a literal or non-literal fire? Some were many days consuming, and just as, pansinin niyo po, hanggang kailan yung suffering? Just as long as there was a portion of them unconsumed, all the sense of suffering remained. Said the angel, the worm of life shall not die, their fire shall not be quenched, as long as there is at the least particle for it to prey upon. So hanggat hindi ka sunog na sunog, mararamdaman mo pa rin yung apoy. And people think na ang lupit naman ng Diyos. At anong klaseng katawan ang meron tayo na magkaiba yung pagkasunog ng mas masama kaysa dun sa kakaunti ang kasamaan? Do we dare question how the prerogative of God? Remember, itong mga susunogin ito ay resurrected bodies. So kung ano man yung ginawa ng Diyos sa mga katawan nila para masunog sila ng mas mahaba o mas maiksi, prerogative na po ng Diyos yun. And take note of this. Yung tanong ko nga patay na ba si Satanas pag dumating yung lake of fire? Sabi sa statement, Sister White, after all have perished who fell by his deception, he is still to live and suffer on in the cleansing flames. The wicked are at last destroyed. Root and branch. Satan the root, his followers the branches. The full penalty of the law has been visited. The demands of justice have been met. In heaven and earth, beholding, declared the righteousness of Jehovah. Saan mamamatay Satanas? In the cleansing flames. So clearly, buhay siya habang sinusunog. Then the wicked saw that they had lost, and fire was breathed from God upon them and consumed them. This was the execution of judgment. The wicked then received according as the saints in unison with Jesus had meted out to them during the 1,000 years. And take note again, the same fire from God that consumed the wicked purified the whole earth. So is it literal or symbolic fire? So the symbolic fire cannot purify the whole earth. The broken, rugged mountains melted with fervent heat. The atmosphere also and all the stubble was consumed. Walang matitirang kahit na lilinisin ng Diyos ang lahat ng alaala ng kasalanan. So anong pinagtatalunan dito? Ang punishment ba ng Diyos ay literal o hindi? So, maiksi na yung panahon natin. What is the patience? Bakit here is the patience of the saints. The apostle says in Romans 5 verse 3, sabi ni J.H. Wagner, tribulation worketh patience. So sa maiksing salita, the patience of the saint ay yung ang magtiis hanggang sa wakas ang siyang maligtas. Yung batahin mo ang pagsubok na dadaanan, ito yung patience of the saints. Who are the saints? This is the people that are repairing the breach. Ulit-ulit tayo dyan. Repairers of the breach, restorers of the paths. In the law of God, they see that the Sabbath, the fourth commandment, has been supplanted by Spirit Sabbath, a day that has no sanction in the Word of God. Amid great opposition, they become loyal to their God and take their position under the standard of the third angel. Anong klaseng message ang third angel? This is a distinct, separating message. This is a call of separation. The first angel's message actually is separation from the world. Sunod, separation from the apostate churches ang second angels. Ang third, separation ito ng wheat and hindi na tares, chaff na. Wheat and tares, wheat and tares and wheat and chaff. And yun, di ba yung ipa ay ihiwalay na sa trigo. Yung isa damo, ihiwalay sa trigo. Ano yung paghiwalay ng ipa sa trigo? So the three angels' message is actually a message of separation from wickedness and becoming one with God. The three angels' message is to lead the people away from the broken cisterns that contain no water to the fountain of living water. So hindi na natin kailangan pag-usapan pa yung ibig sabihin ng keep the commandments of God. Pero bigyan ko lang kayo ng isang idea, a different idea on the word keep. When we say keep the commandments of God, if you love me, keep my commandments. Ano commonly ang nasa isip natin?
Okay.
That we are to obey. How about the other word keep? Sabi ni Christ, I already obeyed. I am giving it to you. Keep it. So the obedience that we are doing is not our obedience. It is the obedience of Christ. Because if we're thinking of keeping the commandments is our effort to obey, then we will not achieve the obedience. But when we say, keep the commandments of God, we are keeping what Jesus had kept and obeyed. At ang nakikita ng Ama is not our obedience, but the obedience of Christ. So what then is the faith of Jesus? There's a difference between the faith in Jesus and the faith of Jesus. The faith of Jesus is what Jesus believed in. Kaya sabi niya, I am the Son of God. Yun yung paniwala niya. In describing the remnant people of God, John says, here is the patience of the saints, here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. The commandments of God and the faith of Jesus is called the law and the gospel. The commandments of God is the law, the faith of Jesus is the gospel. What is the summary of the gospel? For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Sabi ni Christ, ako ang anak ng Diyos, ang kordero na magliligtas sa inyong kasalanan. And we have to believe what Jesus taught. Several have written to me inquiring if the message of justification by faith is the third angel's message. And I have answered, it is the third angel's message in verity. So, among all the messages that we have, the three angels' message, especially the third angel's message, is the most important because it is the justification by faith. Plus 1 hour. Simple question. What is justification by faith? Which is the third angel's message in verity. It is the work of God in laying the glory of man in the dust. Balikan natin, yung sabi kong keep the commandments. It's not our obedience, but rather it is holding on to the obedience of Christ. This is justification by faith. And doing for man that which it is not in his power to do for himself. Can we obey or not? No. So we have to get and accept the obedience of Christ. That is the justification by faith. We are justified not because we obeyed, but because Jesus did it for us. When men see their own nothingness, they are prepared to be clothed with the righteousness of Christ. When they begin to praise and exalt God all day long, then by beholding, they are becoming changed in the same image. Anong difference nung keep the commandments of God na sinusunod mo o yung keep the commandments of God na tinatanggap mo? Kapag ikaw ay sumusunod, you may think it as salvation by works. But kapag sumusunod ka dahil sinunod na ni Kristo para sa'yo, that is justification by faith. Lahat ng righteousness natin, walang binibilang. Because it is God that worketh in you both to will and to do of His good pleasure. Nothing in us can glorify ourselves. Kagaya ni Kristo, lagi nating sasabihin, not my will, but thine. Justification by faith is submitting totally, fully to the will of the Father. And what is regeneration? It is revealing to man what is his own real nature, that in himself, he is worthless. If we understand the message of the third angels, which is justification by faith, will we judge others? Will we think like the Pharisees, I am better than them? Sometimes, maybe in the past, we have been trying to look at others at sasabihin natin, Panginoon, salamat, hindi ako katulad ng ibang tao. Ako'y nag-aayuno 2 beses ang linggo. Ako'y nagbibigay ng ikapo. Ako'y tumutulong sa mahirap. Pero sino yung pinagpala ng Diyos? Yung publican na nagsabing, Panginoon, patawarin mo ako. Isa akong makasalanan. So when we do not measure ourselves within ourselves, and we claim the righteousness of Christ, na anuman yung ginagawa natin, it is not us that's doing it. It is God that is working in us. So, kanino ang glory? So, can we achieve the unity that Christ prayed for? If we understand and apply properly justification by faith? Kasi wala nang magmamataasan. Wala nang magsasabing mas magaling ako kaysa sa'yo. Sinong magaling? Laging si Kristo. Wala tayo. Diba? That in ourselves, we are nothing. Our righteousness is like filthy rags. So, in summary, mahaba ito, pero hindi ko na ilalagay sa inyo. Sabi doon, worship the beast in this image. Alam natin yung beast. Papacy. Saan galing yung power niya? Sa dragon, na primarily si Satan, pero ginamit niya yung pagan Rome. Yung lamb-like beast ang magbibigay power sa image of the beast, which is apostate Protestantism. Yung mark is not a literal mark, but settling into the truth and settling into error. So, magiging mark of the beast lang siya when it is enforced by the law. And we receive it in our forehead if we believe it is right. We receive it in our hands if we are compelled to do it because we do not want to suffer. Pero kapag ginawa natin yon, we will receive the wrath of God without mixture. Pero ang parusa ng Diyos is not eternally burning hell. Matatapos ang pagpaparusa niya kapag wala ng susunugin. At hindi pare-pareho ang haba ng pagkasunog. At when the earth is made new, wala ng kasamaan pa na mag-i-exist. And here is the patience of the saints. Patience because we are going to pass through a lot of tribulation. He that endureth unto the end will be saved. And the saints are those who are keeping the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. The keeping of the commandments of God is accepting the righteousness of Christ, is obedience to the commandments, and not trying to obey by our own efforts. So pagpalain po tayong lahat at magandang hapon.